Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. More areas of BC have been evacuated as wildfires continue to spread throughout the interior. Recovery efforts continue in Haiti following Saturday's devastating earthquake, which left more than 1,200 people dead. We hear from Samaritan's Purse about how they're helping out. And the federal election has been called for September 20th. We hear from Conservative leader Erin O'Toole, along with some of the other parties' candidates.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Strong winds have fanned many of BC's largest wildfires, forcing hundreds of people to leave their homes. The city of Kamloops issued an evacuation order for around 700 residents. Hundreds of homes were also ordered evacuated in the Spalmachine Township, and the Okanagan Indian Band told residents in 80 properties to leave. Wildfire information officers say strong winds have been pushing flames past containment lines in several fires. The city of Armstrong, with around 5,000 people, has also been placed on evacuation alert as the massive White Rock Lake fire is now within 20 kilometers of the city. Residents in West Kelowna, meanwhile, are on evacuation orders due to the strengthening wildfires in the Okanagan. Alana Fitzgerald, who lives in Kelowna, says she can see two wildfires burning as they approach her house. The Mutlaw wildfire has now grown to an estimated 800 hectares.
The wind picked up, and what was happening is that there were large embers being blown around. So the biggest concern was structures and places being just catching on fire from loose embers catching on the wind. Last night also, there was a fire that was sparked very close to me, just down the road on what we call Dilworth Mountain, which was right by our cemetery, right below a lot of houses. And it's probably about 3-4 kilometers away from me and spread quite rapidly, but our fire response was able to get it.
Fitzgerald adds that should her part of town be evacuated, she'll be seeking refuge right here in Alberta. Firefighters in British Columbia have been dealing with many different types of fires, from ground to crown fires. Kyle Britton with the Weather Network explains the different types of wildfires first responders are dealing with right now and what fuels many of them.
Now, wildfire behavior is tied directly to the arrangement of fuels or vegetation. And of course, we see varying patterns of vegetation in nature. There's three main types of wildfire. One is a ground fire. That's literally a fire that's smoldering or burning underneath the ground. On the surface, we call it simply a surface fire. If it's running along here through these grasses or bushes below the tree canopy, that's what we call a surface fire. And finally, the most intense type of wildfire is called a crown fire. That's when that fire gets up into the upper canopy of the forest. It can happen sort of intermittently, what we call candling or torching. If a single tree or clump of trees goes up, you can have intermittent crowning or you can have continuous crowning. And continuous crown fires are the most intense type of wildfire because the flame lengths are just so long. They're consuming so much more biomass, giving off a ton of radiant heat. And really how the fire gets up into the canopy is through very strong wind-driven events, or you have what's called ladder fuels. And ladder fuels are simply intermediate bushes or branches that can facilitate those flames getting up into the upper canopy of the trees from the surface. That's what we call a crown fire.
An insurance expert says there have been more than $78 million in claims from the devastating wildfire which leveled the town of Lytton, BC back in June. Craig Stewart, who is with the Insurance Bureau of Canada, says the average annual cost of claims for property damages or losses has quadrupled over the last decade to around $2 billion. Stewart says insurance companies have lost billions over the last 10 years due to weather events, and that loss is being passed down through increased premiums to consumers. The Taliban swept into Afghanistan's capital after the embattled president joined the exodus of his fellow citizens and foreigners. The fall of Kabul signaled the end of a costly 2-decade U.S. campaign to remake the country. The Biden administration says there are around 2,500 U.S. troops at the airport, with additional forces on the way. Officials say over the next 2 to 3 days, there will be roughly 6,000 troops at the airport, helping many Afghans to flee the country. In just over a week, the Taliban has seized nearly all of Afghanistan, despite billions of dollars spent to build up Afghan security forces. Many are concerned with the Taliban back in power and what that will look like for the Afghan people.
They said everyone can go to school, the girls, the boys. Life is normal, but in the future, we don't know.
I'm not afraid of them. We are not the people who will, go back to the dark era. I'm a girl and I don't care about anyone, not Pakistan, not America, nobody is.
The death toll from a 7.2 magnitude earthquake in Haiti climbed to almost 1,300 following the powerful weekend quake that turned thousands of structures into rubble. It also set off frantic rescue efforts ahead of a potential deluge from an approaching tropical storm. The hospitals in Haiti have been overwhelmed as more than 5,700 injuries have been reported. Churches, hotels, hospitals, and schools were badly damaged or completely destroyed. The challenge facing Haiti has been exacerbated by the coronavirus pandemic, a severe economic downturn, and fierce gang violence. The Christian organization Samaritan's Purse has been helping out in Haiti since Saturday's devastating earthquake. Frank King is the News Media Relations Manager for Samaritan's Purse Canada, and he joins me now via Zoom. Frank, how is your group helping out right now?
We've got a team of 13 down there in Haiti that arrived basically about a day ago. So they're on the ground now in the affected areas, making assessments to see, what is needed, where and when, and how can we respond to those needs in the best way fashionable. We've also sent a plane down there with over 30 tons of emergency supplies. This includes shelter. It also includes a lot of stuff to provide safe water, because that's a key thing that gets affected when you have an earthquake. So we've got a lot of tons of material down there. We're also exploring the possibility of having an emergency field hospital there. So that's a possibility at this stage. And one of the members of our team down there, a Canadian actually, she is looking into seeing whether we need to do that. So basically at this point, let's get on the ground, let's see just how bad it is and what the needs are, and then let's start to look at responding.
That was Frank King with Samaritan's Purse Canada, a Christian organization which is helping out in Haiti since Saturday's devastating earthquake. And if you'd like to help out, make sure you visit their website to see where the greatest needs are. Federal Conservative leader Erin O'Toole reacted to news that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau asked Governor General Mary Simon to dissolve Parliament on Sunday, forcing Canadians back to the polls on September the 20th. O'Toole says, unlike the Liberal Party, his party has a solid plan to help Canada's economy get back on track.
Only the Conservatives, with Canada's recovery plan, will get Canada back on track. Today, I am proud to unveil our detailed plan, Canada's recovery plan. We will secure jobs by recovering the 1 million jobs lost during the pandemic and more in 1 year. We will secure accountability by enacting a new anti-corruption law to clean up the mess in Ottawa. We will secure mental health by delivering our Canada Mental Health Action Plan. We will secure the country by building capacity here at home to handle any future pandemic or crisis. And we will secure our economy by balancing the budget over the course of the next decade.
Other party leaders outlined their plans for an economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. The Liberals promised to extend a hiring credit, and the NDP vowed to claw back money from CEOs who receive federal subsidies meant to protect workers' jobs.
A re-elected Liberal government will extend and introduce new emergency supports for businesses and workers to make sure we build back better for everyone. And that starts with good middle-class jobs. To get more people back to work, we'll extend the Canada Recovery Hiring Program until March 31st, 2022. For hard-hit businesses who get the workers they need, to workers who get the jobs they need to support their families, this is a win-win.
We have seen really clearly in this pandemic that the Liberals have made a clear choice. They are clawing back the support that people need in the CRB. They are clawing back support from the GIS, and instead of focusing on the hundreds of companies that took public money and abused that system, they spent money on paying out money to shareholders by paying out dividends. They increased their executive pays.
Well, candidates in Lethbridge are busy preparing to door knock over the next month, including People's Party of Canada Lethbridge riding candidate Kimi Hoven. Now, this will be Hoven's first time running in a federal election to gain a seat in Parliament. Hoven says the PPC has 4 fundamental pillars that they will be striving to achieve if elected.
Freedom, respect, responsibility, and fairness. People just need to understand that there are other voices out there. We want to be able to have people realize that they can have their freedoms and be able to speak up and talk about the things that they are passionate about, things that are going to affect our country. Passport vaccines are one of the top priorities, is not to have that. It's not a good road to go down. Of course, figuring out how to balance a budget, increasing the economy.
Over the next month, Hoven plans to hit the streets going door to door and setting up signs to raise awareness of the party here in Lethbridge. Brodie Heidinger is another candidate who announced his decision to run for the People's Party of Canada in the upcoming federal election. Heidinger will be representing the riding of Medicine Hat, Cardston, Warner. He says he will campaign hard to make sure Albertans' voices are heard at the federal level. He says his platforms reflect those in his constituency.
Supporting our oil and gas industry and workers is crucial for me. Supporting the national pipelines, having those built and getting our product to market is crucial, not only for Alberta, but for Canada. And equalization, the way that the formula is drafted right now is not fair. It isolates Western provinces to a huge degree. And the People's Party of Canada wants to change that. Smaller government, individual rights to own firearms. We can see, what the Liberals have done, and it's just not working. We strongly oppose the carbon tax. Why are we not helping our citizens and making sure that our Canadians across Canada are well looked after?
Election Day is coming up September 20th, and candidates will have a total of around 5 weeks to get their messages out. Last week, we brought you a story from the Lethbridge Police Service, which charged 10 men in our city in an alleged human trafficking investigation. The accused range from a physician to a business owner and even a few youth. Not for Sale is an awareness group here in Lethbridge that advocates for children who face human trafficking around the world. Joylyn Stickle, the Not for Sale director, says this case here in Lethbridge shows that human trafficking isn't just happening around the world, but it's impacting our city as well.
Our hope and our goal is to raise awareness that these things are happening. So a lot of what we do is training families and training kids on what to see and what to look for, and hopefully not to scare them or not to have them be in a fearful mindset, but also just have them be aware of how they can protect themselves, be aware of what they're looking for around their school, around the malls, and teach parents on how to take care of their kids online and all the different things, all the different ways that human traffickers can get to our children.
Lethbridge police say the 2 men wanted in connection with the alleged human trafficking ring have been arrested. 26-year-old Meritin Kresnicki and 22-year-old Khaled Al-Said both face various charges, including sexual assault and sexual interference. LPS, in collaboration with the RCMP, Calgary Police, and Alert, have charged a total of 10 males believed to be responsible for the sexual exploitation, sexual assault, and trafficking of a 15-year-old girl. Organizers of the Shoes for Kids YQL were overwhelmed by the support of the community. Officials say 485 pairs of shoes were collected for kids in need in our city. The goal was just 200 shoes. Organizers also collected around $16,000 in monetary contributions. Among the partners who offered their support to the campaign included local branches of the Royal Bank, the Lethbridge Police Service, the Blood Tribe Police, and the Piikani Nation RCMP Department. Now, in response to the widespread drought conditions we've seen in southwestern Alberta, Taber Council declared a local state of agricultural disaster last week. The hot, dry conditions over the summer have depleted the soil moisture reserves. Now, according to the Alberta Crop Report, as of July 13th, only 33% of all crops in the south region of the province are in good to excellent condition. During a normal year, the percentage would be around 72%. Reeve with the MD of Taber, Merrill Harris, says the declaration will allow the district to access more funding and relief from both levels of government for farmers and ranchers.
By declaring a state of agriculture disaster, we're bringing awareness to the situation, and hopefully senior levels of government, provincial and federal, will find programs that can help the farmers and the cattlemen in our area through this dry drought period of time. Making this declaration does is open up hopefully for some tax deferrals if they do have to sell off their herds, so that it's not it's one thing to lose your herd to keep going, but then to be taxed at the regular rates would just be a double whammy for some of these people. So making the declaration just brings a lot of awareness to it, and hopefully with senior levels of government can figure out how to help producers get through this period.
Federal Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food, Marie-Claude Bebeau, announced the Government of Canada increased agri-recovery funding to $500 million. A boil water advisory has been issued for the Blood Tribe and Standoff public water supply. This follows equipment failure resulting in a pressure loss in the distribution system. People living in the affected area are asked to bring water to a rolling boil for at least 1 minute prior to drinking, making infant formula, brushing teeth, washing fruits and vegetables, or even making ice. The boil water advisory will remain in effect until further notice. Officials at the University of Lethbridge announced that they will be recognizing September 30th as the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. This news comes off the heels of Ottawa designating September 30th as a national holiday to honor the victims and survivors of residential schools.
This particular day, we wanted to give our community the opportunity to pause and reflect on the terrible legacy of the residential school system, the survivors, and those whom we offer memorial to who didn't survive that system, and provide our colleagues, our students, staff, and faculty with a chance to mark the moment in a very respectful manner.
The U of L is also planning on implementing a number of events during the week of September the 27th. Environment Canada issued a special air quality statement for southwestern Alberta due to the wildfire smoke. Fortunately, some rain is on the way, which will hopefully clear the air. Full weather details are on deck. Well, we had some poor air quality today due to the wildfire smoke. A special air quality statement was issued by Environment Canada. Tonight, a chance of rain developing with a low near 11. Tuesday, more rain is in the forecast with a high expected near 14. Wednesday, light showers continue with the mercury climbing to 20. Thursday, a mixture of sun and cloud with a high of 22 expected. Friday, more rain developing with a high of only 18. Saturday, the rain cloud should clear out and we should get up to 20. Sunday, sun mixed with cloud and a high of 22. Checking the almanac, the average high for this time of year is 26 degrees and an average low of 10. The highest temperature on this date was recorded back in 1962 at 36 degrees, and the record low was 4 in 2000. Sunrise was at 6:23, sunset at 8:48. Let's see how Tuesday is shaping up across the country now. It should be clearing in Victoria, BC with a high of 24. A slight chance of showers developing and 23 is on tap for Vancouver. Overcast and 16 for Edmonton. Lots of rain and 13 degrees for Calgary. Expect light showers and 28 degrees in Regina. Showers and 20 for Saskatoon. Winnipeg had a heat warning today. Tuesday, a chance of thunder showers developing and a high of 34. Showers and 29 degrees for Toronto. A few showers and 22 is expected in Ottawa. A chance of showers and 27 for Montreal on Tuesday. In Atlantic Canada, it should be mainly sunny and 29 in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Sunshine and 27 for both Halifax, Nova Scotia and Charlottetown, PEI. And in St. John's, Newfoundland, it should be partly cloudy with a high of 24 expected. The Canadian Real Estate Association says home sales cooled for a fourth straight month in July amid a decline in new supply in most markets. The group says seasonally adjusted home sales were down 3.5% from June to 50,459, while new listings dropped 8.8%. CREA says home sales continue to back off from extreme levels seen earlier this year. It says tightening of market conditions tipped a small majority of local markets back into seller's market territory and pushed the average home price up 15.6% from July of last year. Stats Canada says manufacturing sales were up 2.1% in June, following 2 straight monthly declines. It says sales increased just over $59 billion. It was mainly due to a partial recovery at auto assembly plants, despite the continuing semiconductor chip supply shortage and gains in the petroleum and coal industries. It says motor vehicle sales were up 25.6% over May, but down 26.8% from a year earlier. The federal agency says sales in the petroleum and coal industry were up 5.2%, but sales of wood products fell 5.7% following 6 straight monthly gains. The U.S. government has opened an investigation into Tesla's autopilot system, saying it has trouble spotting parked emergency vehicles. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says it identified 11 crashes since 2018 involving Teslas on autopilot or traffic-aware cruise control. It says they hit vehicles with flashing lights, flares, or cones warning of various hazards. The investigation covers the models Y, X, S, and 3 from 2014 through 2021. Now, here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was down 34 points to 20,483. The Dow was up 110 points to 35,625. The S&P 500 was up 11 points to 4,480. The Nasdaq was down 29 points to 14,794. West Texas Intermediate Oil was down $1.01 to 67.43 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 8 cents to 3.94 US. Gold was up 1 cent to 17.8745 US an ounce. And silver was up 6 cents to 23.90 US an ounce. Wheat is at $425 per metric ton. Barley, $425. Canola is at $910. And corn is at $460 per metric ton. Live cattle were up 78 cents to 123.53. Feeder cattle were down 85 cents to 157.20. Lean hogs were up $2.48 to $89. And the Canadian dollar was up slightly today over the past 24 hours to finish at 79.54 US.
Recapping one of our top stories this hour, strong winds have fanned many of BC's largest wildfires, forcing hundreds of people to leave their homes. The city of Kamloops issued an evacuation order for around 700 residents. Hundreds of homes were also ordered evacuated in the Spalmachine Township, and the Okanagan Indian Band told residents in 80 properties to leave. West Kelowna have also been put on evacuation order, and the city of Armstrong, with around 5,000 people, has also been placed on evacuation alert as the massive White Rock Lake fire is now within 20 kilometers of the city. There are a couple of big elections coming up. First, we'll have the federal election on September the 20th. Then on October 18th, it's the Alberta municipal election. Coming up, a one-on-one interview with one of the candidates running to become the new mayor of Lethbridge, Mr. Gary Clausen. But first, here's a look what's happening in and around your community.
Here's your Bridge City News community calendar. Whoop Up Days are back. Taking place September 2nd to the 5th at Exhibition Park. Enjoy live entertainment, Wild Rose shows midway, food trucks, and Whoop Up Days Marketplace. Admission and on-site parking is free. For details and gate times, visit exhibitionpark.ca. The Evangelical Free Church of Lethbridge is hosting an event to remember on September 8th and 9th from noon to 8 p.m. each day. Pandemic measures impacted funerals and memorials, leaving many to grieve alone. This event is to provide an opportunity for all those who have lost a loved one during the past 18 months to remember and honor them. Members of the community are welcome to submit a photo and details about their loved one by going to efreelethbridge.ca. A poster will be designed and displayed for public viewing at the church. There will not be a scheduled program, simply an opportunity to walk through the room, honoring and recognizing those who have passed away since the beginning of March 2020. There is no charge to participate or attend this event. For more information, call Monica at 403-329-3125, extension 251. And that's your Bridge City News community calendar.
October 18th, we'll see municipal elections taking place across Alberta. Joining us today is Gary Clausen. He is one of several candidates in the mayoral race here in Lethbridge. Welcome to Bridge City News, Gary. So great to have you on today.
Hi, Jeanette. It's good to be here.
Thank you. So can you first of all tell our viewers a bit about yourself and what's your background and why you decided to run for mayor?
Hi, Jeanette. Well, the reason my background is I was born in Lethbridge, and I've lived in Lethbridge area all my life. I've lived here forever. So what happened is I was in the trucking business with my dad. We hauled sand and gravel for 19 and a half years. And now I've been a realtor for the last 29 years, which is a wonderful job. I meet a lot of people. I do a lot of things to help people get their dream houses.
Yeah, I bet you meet a lot of people.
I do. And the reason I'm running for mayor is I want to make a difference in this city. I want to make it a better place for everybody to live.
Okay, awesome. So one of your top issues, Gary, is to get tough on crime and make Lethbridge a much safer city. So what do you see as being the biggest crime issues that need to be reined in?
One of the biggest crime issues in Lethbridge is petty crimes. Like you'll get people stealing bicycles, breaking into their cars, breaking into houses. I've had an example just the other day. I had a person try to break into one of my garages. This is just day before yesterday. They couldn't get the garage door open, but they tried to break into it. I mean, they're just breaking in and stealing things so they can sell it and, survive, I guess. I mean, I'd like to find a reason why they're doing this. I think might be because they're too lazy to work. I don't know. The petty crime is the worst part in this town. Like, I bought my grandkid a bicycle for his birthday. They had it in the backyard, and somebody came in the backyard and stole it before he even got to ride it. That's just terrible. People are just stealing bicycles. My neighbor across the road last week had his bicycle stolen out of his carport. Wow. Now, why would people just keep doing this? You catch the person, you take them to court, they slap his wrist, they let him out, and he goes and steals a bike and rides it home. That's exactly what's been going on. There's not enough punishment for the crime. I mean, you can't cut off their hand or nothing for stealing the bike, but you got to do something to make them be responsible for themselves.
Yeah, I know. I've had 2 bikes stolen out of my yard too. We never did catch the people. So I hear you on that. So Gary, how would you go about reducing crime? Do we need to have a bigger police budget or a different approach to fight the bad guys?
I think we need both. We need to keep the budget, because the police, you can't cut their budget and then ask them to do more work. We've got a wonderful college that's got a great police college, a training session for police. I was thinking that maybe they should turn around and, like, there's a lot of policemen out there, but they need help. They do. They need the local citizens to help them. There's people that are upset because they'll call the police and it'll take them 20 minutes to get there. But they're doing so much stuff out there. They're so busy that they can't be everywhere at the same time. So I was thinking, and this is going to happen when I become mayor, because I am going to become the mayor, just so you know, that, why don't they get the students from the police academy to be ride-alongs with them? So they got a police academy guy and a police officer in there. Be great training for a guy that's wanting to be a policeman. And then they've got 2 people in there, and they can have more people out on patrol and stuff than that. It's terrible that they just have to turn around and they don't have enough people. They don't. I would like to. I really have a heart for the cops too. The police. I have a heart for the police because they need help. They need help. They need to turn around, and they need people helping them all the time too. You have a problem with something, you call the police. You don't call the crook because the crook's already there.
So Gary, our city seems to also be divided over whether or not to have supervised injection sites. So how do you see things? What's the best way to reduce drug use and the crime and family breakdown that comes with that?
The free injection site, I think was totally wrong. I think it was wrong. When that free injection site came into Lethbridge, our crime rate went up 30%. 30% it went up, and that's quite a bit. I mean, we got all the people that want to do drugs, and we can do it for free. We can do it here. The Lethbridge will let you do their drugs, and they all come into here. That has increased the crime. People are stealing so they can buy their drugs. And then they turn around, and it hurts the people. It hurts the families. Like, we've got a friend, her son is taking a lot of drugs. He actually overdosed the other day, and he doesn't seem to care. That's the point. They don't seem to care. They've got to care too. They've got to want to stop. And it's hard for them to stop because it's such a rush. I personally don't do drugs because I don't want to, but they turn around and you've got to educate people. You've got to educate people that this is not the right way to do this. The main thing is don't do drugs. Just don't do drugs. But why are they doing drugs? I mean, I'm going to find more things out when the time comes. I went to the homeless shelter the other day and to check it out because I want to know more what's going on with this stuff. And the guy at the homeless shelter, he showed me all around and everything like that, which was really good. And I went outside and there was a guy working on this bicycle. And he said to me, he says, "Oh, you guys," he just turned around, "You guys," then, and he put me in with everybody, which is okay. He says, you just think we steal everything just so we can buy drugs. And I was thinking that. I mean, I didn't want to debate with this guy because it wasn't going to go anywhere with that debate, because he had his mindset that us guys just thought that they would steal anything they can. And they do. They 7-Eleven on North Side has shut their doors because people walk into the 7-Eleven store, take some stuff on, walk right out. And the girl at the counter, what can she do with these people just coming in and taking it out? So it actually shut the doors the other day on the 7-Eleven on Main Street. It's been there forever. I mean, on 13th Street, sorry, 13th Street. I think that rehabilitation is way more important than the injection site. And we're actually getting a bigger rehabilitation site just outside of town here by the close to the jail. They're going to expand that thing. They're also going to put a new rehabilitation site on the blood reserve, which is good ideas, because it turns around and keeps them off the streets. You know, talking about the drug thing and get back to that a little bit. You know, you've got needles and stuff in the parks, and your person can take his dog and kids for a walk in the park. There's needles, and it's not safe for them. You know, Gulf Gardens is our downtown. Gulf Gardens is like our living room. I don't want the injection site. I don't want the needles in my living room. I want them. I don't want them at all, but I want them further away. Don't want the people all hanging around downtown. Gulf Gardens. It's a great park. It's a nice park. It's got a splash park. It's got all that stuff there, but it's just not being utilized because of everything else going on with the drugs. Drugs is the main problem in our city with this. The drugs cause them to turn around and steal and help support their habit. You know, so you get this is free injection site. Why? It's illegal drugs. You shouldn't have a free injection site for illegal drugs. People will say, "Oh, they've got to have this. They got to protect them. They got to be able to do this." No, they don't. They don't have to have this. I mean, how many people are in favor of the free injection site? And how many people are against it? I bet you there's 98% against the 2% that want it. That's my opinion.
So the man at the shelter who was confronting you, you didn't want to talk to him and ask him what his story was, since he's confronting you about the stereotype about all of them and how you guys think.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to talk with these guys some more and see what's going on. I like that. The other day, I've got some friends that own a restaurant, and they phoned me at 11 o'clock at night. There's somebody building a lean-to, a shelter in the back of their restaurant, at the back in the parking lot. So I go over there because we're good friends, and I go back there, and they called the police, and I got there, and the police got there like within minutes, you know. So I mean, the response time for the police was really good on that. Okay, I'm getting to that point. Okay, so what happened was we tore it all down, and so a day or two later they phoned me that's up again. So I went back there again, and I went and looked. And I heard this noise on the other side of the block fence. And I looked over the block fence, and there was two people there. There was a guy and a girl. And I talked to them, and I says, you know, why don't you guys go down to the shelter? I said, this your stuff? They denied it, of course. And I says, why don't you guys go down to the shelter? He said, well, when we go to the shelter, we get harassed, and we get robbed, and we get beaten up. So, I mean, there's a reason. Why is that happening? I'm going to find out more, because this just happened like 3 days ago. I'm going to find out why. Is there not enough security in the shelter? Is the security guards in the shelter, can they handle this? Do they need more help? You know, that's what's got to be taken care of. They got to turn around, and there's got to be a reason why. I know a guy, I've known him. I sold his house back in the 90s, okay? And I see him lots on the street, and he's a homeless guy. And he's never, ever asked me for a dime, ever. And I've known him even before I was a realtor, I knew him. And he says he just doesn't want to have no responsibility. Doesn't want to have to make mortgage payments or pay taxes or anything. He just wants to live.
Wow. So what do you think needs to happen to get people off the street and into a stable home environment then, Gary?
Medicine Hat has done a wonderful job Afghanistan has done a wonderful job on their homeless stuff. And I'm going to check into that a little bit more. I haven't got that all together yet, but I'm going to get that together. And there's all kinds of different situations. There's people, they build little pods. They build little things for the people to live in and stuff like that. But you got to have a place for them to do this.
So one of your top priorities, Gary, is to make City Hall more efficient and less likely to spend wastefully. So where do you think money is being wasted, and how would you make things more efficient?
See, here's another point, okay? I have to find out more where the money is being spent. I have to find out what they're spending the money on. Okay, so once I get in there, I can do more efficient stuff. Now, the people that are working on the jobs, the employees, you go to the employees, you talk with the employees. Lots of times, the employees know really well how to do something, and they're told to do it this way because that's the way we do it. We're going to do it that way, and that's the way we do it. And if they do it this way, they can get it done more efficiently, and it'll be just as good. So that's the point. I'm going to work with the people in the city. I'm going to work with them, and I'm going to see what I can do to make it more efficient for them. Mm-hmm. That's the important.
I believe that that's all pretty transparent.
See where they spend them.
Yeah, I believe that that's also on their website where all the money is going to. Okay, so now you believe that Lethbridge has a lot to offer in the tourism department. How would you go about promoting Lethbridge as a great spot to visit?
Okay, well, here's the point. Lethbridge has a lot of great places. Like Lethbridge has Nikiupa Japanese Gardens. They have the Fort Whoopa. They have the Indian Battle Park. Now, Indian Battle Park was the scene of the last great Indian battle. That's history. That's history. They got the Helen Schuler Center. They've got that too. We've got some the new and improved swimming pool. That's nice. We've got hockey, we've got Bulls baseball games. We got some good entertainment for the people. Take example, Street Wheelers Weekend. When Street Wheelers Weekend happens, we get more people at Street Wheelers Weekend than we do at Whoop Up Days. Okay, Street Wheelers Weekend, when it's on, people look forward to it. People from all over the country come to Street Wheelers Weekend. BC, Saskatchewan, Calgary, Edmonton, everybody comes down for this weekend. And there's a lot of car guys, they're buying gas, the hotel rooms are all full, everything is really, they're at restaurants. It's a very good influx to our society, our city, when that weekend happens. So there's a lot of good points that can be done for that too, because car guys love to spend money on stuff, so it's a good thing. That's all kinds of stuff. There's other things that we could do to make more stuff into the city, but it's not there yet.
Okay.
It's not there.
Now, Gary, let's switch gears here a little bit and talk about COVID. COVID has, of course, been a big issue everywhere on the planet. If COVID does erupt again this fall and winter, how would you go about handling things differently here in Lethbridge?
Okay, now with the COVID thing, there's not just the COVID, there's lots of other things there, but okay, the COVID, cleanliness. Wash your hands. If you're sick, stay home. Don't bother coming to work if you're sick. If your kid's sick, he's got a sniffle and a cold, that's a sniffle and a cold. It's not COVID, maybe, okay? But otherwise, they turn around and they just stay home if you're sick. The social distance is a good thing to do when you're not feeling good and things like that. I believe that masks are helpful. I don't like the masks personally. I don't like masks, but that did help. And washing your hands, being clean, that's an important thing on that.
How is that different than anything that the previous mayor and council did? Would you do anything differently than what they did?
I think they did a pretty good job on that. I think the mask thing was a little too long, but that's what they did.
Gary, tell our viewers why they should vote for you on October 18th.
Well, I think that I'll do a good job for the people. I want to make this a safe city. This is a good city, but I want to make it safe. I want people to go outside, take their dogs for a walk, and walk with their wives, and be safe, not being hassled by anybody on the street. I think that I will do a great job for this city because I will listen to the people. Because I want to be known as the best mayor this city ever had. That would be my goal. Be the best mayor this city has ever had.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Gary. Gary Clausen is one of the candidates in the Lethbridge mayoral race. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Far too many people have suffered sexual abuse, and it remains a difficult thing to talk about with others. Recovery from abuse is difficult, but some individuals do seem to be able to recover. Today's guest knows what this is all about. We are joined by Cora Jean Blaylock, who now helps other women find freedom from the trauma of sexual abuse and is the author of Moving from Violated to a Victory. Welcome to Bridge City News, Cora Jean. So great to have you on today.
Thank you, Jeanette. I just feel so privileged and honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. That's amazing. Now, Cora Jean, can you maybe share a little bit about your personal story, your personal journey as a child of abuse?
Sure. Being born into a family, a home life that where sexual abuse was an issue, a pedophile for a father, and a mom who wasn't trained well. Her mother had abandoned her, and she just didn't know how to deal with it. And so what she chose to do was sort of hide and deny. So of course that's the perfect storm, right? So it just lets the issue keep going. So it carried on until my father was killed in a car accident when I was 11.
Wow. So you have experienced some hurt, and you've also experienced some healing, and you suggest that healing involves both physical and spiritual wholeness in your book. So how so? Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Healing is definitely possible. We serve a God who describes himself as Jehovah Rapha, God our physician. So he's wanting to heal us. We know he's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So whatever we find in God's word that talks about healing, we can hold on to those words and we can apply them to our lives, and we can walk into victory. I wish that it was a magic wand and that it could happen, overnight. But that's not typically how it works. We discipline ourselves under righteousness. All of us who are seeking to follow Christ are doing that. And this is really no different. It's just that for some of us, we have a lot further to walk. We have been, maybe in some very dark places. We've grappled with torment, despair. The list goes on. But God is bigger than that, and he is able to bring us into the life that we've imagined for ourselves, a life of abundance. So we don't have to live in that darkness. We don't have to live in a cycle where we continue to create for ourselves kind of just horrible experiences, really, because when you're trained in trauma, that's how you live your life.
Okay, well, it's interesting that you say train that, because your book also talks about learning to retrain your body. So what do you mean by this exactly?
That's such a great question. And it's not that easy to answer, really. But the path is simple, and it comes back to faith as well. My body, in massage therapy, what we generally talk about is how the muscles have memories. Okay, so like if you've broken your leg, for example, you're favoring that leg for a long time, aren't we? And then we learn to use it properly, we gain more confidence, and then we forget and we treat it normally. But when we've been maligned physically in abuse, any type of abuse really, but because we're talking about sexual abuse, that typically has to do with our reproductive organs and that area in the body in general. And I'm not suggesting we go in and touch that space specifically, because we still want to honor the body and reverence it and maintain our privacy and dignity. But the upper legs, for example, carry a lot of energy from the reproductive area. And to go in and touch that space, to bring awareness to it, forgiveness, to intentionally say, I have been hurt here, and I am going to bring nurturing. I'm going to bring comfort. And so often these areas are ignored. We just say, well, I've dealt with it, emotionally and mentally, so I must be fine. But the problem is, let yourself get married and allow your husband to touch you, and bam, you can go right back to that place. Flashback. It comes back to you. And the gut, the Chinese have long called our stomachs our emotional brain. And that area also requires retraining.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you were around 11 years old when this stopped. So what happened after that? How long was it before you were able to heal? Did your mother help you after that? And were you able to get the help that you need, or did that come much later in life?
Well, my family did their best. My mom, she left, and we lived with my father's mom and dad. And all I'm going to say about them is they did their best.
Yeah.
But they weren't prepared to deal with this stuff.
Right.
We're talking about the 80s. Nobody really was, at least not in the circles we were in. But I did have some really good help around the time I was 20. A lady by the name of Charlene Hansen. She actually runs a program called Women of Courage. She taught me how to pray. She taught me how to apply God's word to my life and to believe it. And that has made all the difference for me. I never found much help in counseling, to be honest. Talking about it is very important. To share your story, that's a very important first step, breaking the silence. But once you get there, you need a program, you need something to apply to your life to change it, a teaching, in other words.
Yeah.
So.
And I think when it comes to that type of abuse, maybe spiritual healing might be the only way to really break through that. I don't know. I can't speak from experience. Only you can, Cora Jean. And I'm really just so sorry that anything like that happened to you.
Oh, Jeanette, you're so right on. Spiritual healing is paramount. We need God. We need him to come in, because when he breaks the chains. And without that, even the physical healing isn't going to do it for us. It's mind, body, spirit. It's our hearts, it's our souls, the whole thing. They talk about the first 5 years being the most important formative years of your life, right? You have to go back and retrain all that, and it does. It's the Spirit of God who really does the work for us.
Now, Cora Jean, why is there confusion that surrounds recovering memories of sexual abuse? Do you have to dig all of that up in order to heal, or why not just let those memories of the past stay buried?
Yeah, I think that retrieving your memory is very important, but I don't think it's vital to remember everything. I think that it's really difficult to believe ourselves, and it can be very difficult to break the silence, to talk about it to others, because it is a horrible thing that nobody wants to believe has happened. And they don't want to believe that anyone they know would do that, and especially if it's within your own family. And there's a code of silence. There's this unspoken hush command that wants to keep us silent. And even if the abuse is not happening, still they don't want anyone to talk about it, But really and truly, the only way to gain freedom is to talk about it. And we know that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. God's word has told us that what has been whispered will be shouted from rooftops. God already knows. That is the most comforting thing that ever came to me in the area of memories and dealing with this, because it's very shameful when you're the victim, even though you are the victim. Like, it's not my fault at all, yet I have to carry this load of shame. But God already knows. He already knows it all. He remembers everything. It hasn't passed by him. It hasn't slipped by. And so when we bring truth, when we trust God to help us bring truth, he says in the Psalms, surely I desire truth in the inward parts. We need truth. We need truth for health. I mean, I think we know that, in our own experience, even in our personal relationships, if there's a lie standing between myself and someone else, however little, it's going to cause a problem. And this is a big lie if we don't bring it out and trust God and begin to trust ourselves, and the Holy Spirit will help us remember what we need to know. But let us not get caught up on remembering everything or convincing people, because some people are going to not believe and misunderstand you regardless of what you do.
Wow. Did you ever within yourself learn to forgive your father for doing, and is that part of the healing? Do you have to forgive them?
Jeanette, thank you for asking me that. I love forgiveness. There is so much freedom in forgiveness. There's so much magnificence in forgiveness. Forgiveness is not saying what you did is okay, so I'm going to forget about it. Forgiveness isn't even really for the perpetrator. Forgiveness is a gift to me. Forgiveness sets me free. I don't have to be angry. I don't have to have a judgment about it. I can just look to God. I can look to myself and say, look, it's you and I, God. Let's deal with this and forget about that guy. I mean, the good book says we've got to forgive people 7 times 77 times, right? What I've learned is the reality is sometimes you have to forgive that many times for the same act. And that could be anything that hurts us, right? But still, it comes to mind, I don't want to forgive. I don't feel like forgiving. This is the worst thing you could have done to me. So I'm not going to forgive you. You deserve for me to hate you. But we're not talking about what people deserve. We're talking about a supernatural empowering from God himself, who has said, I will help you forgive. You're not going to feel like it at first. I didn't feel like it. Some days I still don't feel like it. But then I say, God, I surrender to you. Your way is best. Help me. Change my heart. Give me the desire. And with my will, I can forgive, even if I don't forgive with my feelings.
Mm-hmm. I know, Cora Jean, how did you bridge that gap between an earthly father and what he did to you with the heavenly Father?
Well, I have been blessed with a really great church family. And so I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I've seen many examples of really spectacular earthly fathers. But some people don't have that opportunity. What it boils down to is we just have got to believe God. We just have to believe him. We've got to read his word and say, Lord, I believe that you have chosen me. I believe that all your thoughts toward me are good. I believe that you didn't let this happen, that you didn't want this to happen. But we live in a fallen world where people have free will. And without free will, relationships are meaningless. We're robots. But we have to deal with each other. We have to deal with each other's weaknesses and faults. And a lot of times those things are played out on one another. So we put our trust in God and we say, Lord, I believe you.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know there are, of course, viewers who have experienced sexual abuse. So what message would you like to leave with them, Cora Jean?
Don't give up. Never, never give up. And trust God and read your Bible. And I'm standing in a field of victory. I have more than I could have imagined right now. God cares about you. His eye is on the sparrow, and he wants to see you walk in wholeness. Just don't give up.
Yeah, that's a good message and words of wisdom as well. Thanks so much for being with us today, Cora Jean. We really appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Jeanette, I can't thank you enough.
Of course. Cora Jean Blaylock is the author of Moving from Violated to Victory, available at www.gutsandvictory.com. I'm Jeanette Roche on behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News. Thanks for watching.